Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Excel. In this module, I want to show you how you can create a dial chart, which is this one on the left, and a Speedo chart, which is this one on the right. So how I've got this set up is if I select from this list a person, the score for that person is represented there, and I need this figure to give me the gap, if you like. So if I just pick somebody who's got a higher score, you can see he's got 94 and then the gap is just 6% there. So that is a donut chart, two donut charts actually. I'll do that one first. On this example, you've got a Speedo chart, which this is that Speedo dial. If you change the figure, so if I change that to 12 for example, it goes right over there. That is the size of this slice. So this is a donut chart with a pie chart attached to it. So what I'll do first off is I'll do this one, I'll repeat this one so you can see how it works. Now before I do the actual donut, I'll show you where I'm getting this information from. So this is obviously a drop down list, data validation. If I go to the data tab and data validation, you can see it's looking at a named range called names. Click OK to that. If I drop the arrow down and select names, you can see it's on a different sheet, data, and there's the names, the people, and then basically it's pulling in the scores from there. Now that is being done by a VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP, whatever goes in A2, look at the name range data, and then bringing the information in like so. And that's just a formula there, is equals 1 minus B2 to give you the remaining percent. So I'll redo this one from scratch and just delete that one off and delete these boxes off, and let's do that. So the first thing you have to do is create a donut chart. So let's go do that. So insert charts, it's under pie charts, donut. Now I've not selected any data because I need to manually type in 10 segments. So what you do now is you go up to chart design, select data, and then add. So I don't need to do a label, but there is my chart. But what I need here is 10 sections or segments. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 segments. So that's like the base, if you like. I don't need these. I don't need this label. I'll get rid of that in a minute. Just click OK to that. Just get rid of that. So that's the base. You can leave that as it is, but probably best if you change the actual color of that. If I just double click on that to get the pane coming up. Fill color, solid fill, but I want these all to be the same color and sort of not too prominent. So grey, a lighter grey than that maybe. That's probably just a bit too light, so just make that a little bit darker. Click away, let's have a look. Alright, that's alright. That's I don't need a chart title for this. So that's my first section. So now what I need to do is do a second donut and add these two cells. So back up to select data this time, add, and then I'm just going to select these two cells, which will give me that second one. Click OK, and you can see it there. Click OK to that. So that'll be the gap. What I need to do is sit this one on top of the grey one. Now to do that, I need to go into change chart type and set one of them to secondary axes. So you've got series 1 and series 2. So if I put that one to secondary axes, you can see there that it's just showing the gap, which on this example is 6%. If I click OK to that, that looks cool. If I change the person, so the gap changes, and you can change the colors if you don't like that. Now what I had in terms of labels, that was just if I just draw a shape, insert shape. It's nothing too technical, just to draw a rectangle for this first one, and then I just went up there, equals, and clicked on that cell, and that put person's name in. If I make it a bit bigger, Bob Brown, and then you can just sit that wherever you want it. And then I did another one, insert shape, rectangle, and then go onto the formula bar, equals the percentage, so it gives you the score for that person, and then you can just position these where you want and format them however you want. So just put that down there. You can put it inside the graph if you want, I suppose. Bob Brown, like that, and then just click away, select a different person, Dave Jones, so that gives you Dave Jones' score. So that's basically how you can create a dial chart. Now let's have a look at this one. This is a Speedo chart. It needs to be set up slightly different. So I'm just going to delete this one off, and I'm going to delete these. I'm going to change the segments. I just want these to be 25, 25, and 25. So you set this up, but that needs then to be a sum of those three, and then these can be, that can't be more than 150, so I'll put 150 there, which then makes a circle, and that is the size of the pointer, the marker if you like. So I'll leave these figures there, and I'll start off with, well, I'll leave that on 12, you can mess about with that later on. So what you do again, you're creating a donut chart first. It's going to be based on these cells here. So let's just highlight those. So insert pie donut. Now first thing I need to do is spin this axis round. So I click on this, and then I go over across to format data series. So if this is not on the screen, you can just basically double click straight away on that. It's come up with data point, but if I click off it and click back on it, it'll say data series. And then I need to type in there 270 degrees, press enter on that, just so it spins it round, so that gives you the dial. And then this bottom part needs to be see-through, so I need to go to the paint pot and no fill on that, so that gives you that structure. I don't need the chart title for this, and I don't need those labels. So now what I need to do is create a pie chart. To add the pie chart, I need to use this option, select data, and add a series, and then I'm picking up this list of data there. Now I want to put that back down, click OK, this, and OK again. This needs to be a pie chart, so I click on this one. I need to change the type to a pie. Before I do that, actually, I'll spin the axes. That needs to be on the same axes as the first one. It is at the moment, so let's just check that. So series 1 is that one, series 2 is the outer one. So let's change that to a pie, and I need to make these see-through, so click OK to that, and then these needs to be see-through, so a paint pot, put the axis at 270, and then the paint pot needs to be on that one, the big one, that needs to be see-through, and then I just change the size of the needle, if you like, to 1, so that one needs to be see-through, paint pot, no fill. So there you've got that. So if I change the actual score, if you like, 45, that should move around, and it does. I probably need to make that a bit bigger, so let's try for 3. So, and then if I change the colour of that to something else, let's pick a colour, black maybe, just so it stands out a bit more. Black, and then I probably can go back down to 2 for that size of needle. So this is the cell that would change. So if I put 67 on there and so on, so that's the top, so 78, and you can see that. If this was a percentage, you can go across there like that, or you'd have to change this to be adding up to 100. Same with that. But whatever this size is, this has to be an equal size, so you can play around with these if you want. You can have more segments, but this is how you set it up. So basically, can go all the way up to 150 there, so if I go 145, that'll go all the way around. 12 back round to the other side. So that's how you create a speedo chart, and then you put your labels on. So basically the first thing you do is you're creating a donut chart. You're spinning the axes. You then create through add data, through select data and add data, you create a pie chart which you then spin to 270 degrees as well, and then you get rid of the fills for the two larger numbers. The smaller number in the middle is the needle, and then once you've done that, you can just start changing the score or the figure, and then the needle will reflect whatever change you make. And the first one I did was a dial chart where you create a donut and type in the segments manually. Then you create a second donut that goes onto the secondary axis feature, and then when you change your drop down list, it picks that up. So that's a quick example of how to do a dial chart and how to do a speedo chart. I hope that was of use. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.